Hey everybody, it's Michael Milano, and today I am lucky enough to be joined by Karina Akouka, licensed psychotherapist, and today we're here to talk about a business that she has just started. I think that it's an incredible gift to the community and to anybody that seeks out her expertise, and I'm just really excited to introduce you to her and her business. Karina lives here in Novato. She is a native of the Bay Area. You came from Berkeley, right?
Berkeley, yeah.
Right on. And she's been developing her business practice for several years and is just now bringing it to the masses. So I want to introduce her to you guys and her business to you as well. So what's up, Karina? How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's such an honor to be able to talk more about my practice and bringing the support to the community, which I think not only during COVID, but in just regular times is so vital and important for everybody's well-being. So
Totally.
thank you.
Oh, thank you. I think I'm just really grateful that you're here too. So let's hop right into it. What is your new endeavor? Can you walk through what it is, maybe what brought you to think even about putting it in place, and just how you got to where you're at right now?
Yeah. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been working with children and families for about over 15 years now. And private practice has always been sort of in my mind and in my heart, and something that I've been working towards for many years. So, any of you that are familiar with just becoming a licensed therapist, it entails a lot of work and a lot of clinical work and clinical supervision and examination to get to this point. But most importantly, my experience working with families and just seeing how vital it is to be able to support parents when they're becoming new parents, when they're struggling in their parenting, because it's definitely not a linear path. And so it was something that during this time of COVID and just changes in my own personal life, because I have two young kids. And so now I felt like it was something that I could finally dedicate my passion and my expertise towards. And so that really kind of precipitated my desire to finally just put my services out there to everybody.
What I've noticed, an ancillary benefit of this whole COVID environment is the creativity that it's allowed for people to have. So,
Yeah.
I'm so excited that you've been able to tap into this because of COVID, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things is that mental health services are now more accessible to people than they may have been previously, because when people are busy working and getting to appointments and such, and now with teletherapy, you can easily kind of do it during your lunch break or do it at a time that's convenient for you. So that really makes it accessible to people, even if they're like on the go or out somewhere or basically anywhere. So that's been definitely a plus.
So your focus is really on new parents right now. Like, this is what the new practice specialty niche is. Is that right?
Exactly. So I work with adults dealing with all kinds of, just anxiety, depression, dealing with like life changes or self-esteem concerns or career changes. So really any like needs that people are having that where they're feeling stuck.
Mhm.
But I also have a special interest in working with the perinatal population. And so this population is really unique because it's really looking at like the time before conception, but then also after having children. And it doesn't just include mothers. It's also looking at dads and what their experience is as they become new parents. There have been a lot of studies that, both moms and dads can suffer from postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. So it's not something that's just limited to mothers. So I really, when I'm thinking about like this service and why it's so important to me is that the healthier a parent can be and the happier that the parent is, the better off the children are. And so that's really where kind of my passion lies in that, is just ensuring that like the whole family feels supported.
I love that idea. Um, there's so many things, like, so I have 3 kids, and um, there's so many things that you have no idea what you're getting into until you're in it. Um,
Right.
having people to talk to about what you're going through, outside of, parents and so on and so forth. There's a lot of, I mean, I know I personally was guarded with how I was feeling, fake it till you make it kind of approach, projecting out. But there was definitely an adjustment phase for me with each kid. Um,
Right.
everything changes. It's all for the better, right? But there's such a drastic change from before and after. So that's interesting. So you're talking to parents that have are in that process, right?
Right. And and sometimes too, um, there's a lot of grief around becoming a parent also, because you kind of are losing who you once were. And so that's something too that a lot of people don't talk about, is that you're moving away from this person that you were individually, and you kind of have this loss of freedom, which is what a lot of people feel when you become a parent, and not because you don't love your child, but because you miss that life. But so it's really looking at like developing new ways of really being true to yourself as you also are a parent, and being able to tap into that more, and really being able to freely talk about it, because these are topics that a lot of times people will kind of give the image that, oh, I just fell into motherhood, or I fell into parenthood, and it was absolute bliss. And that really, it makes it really challenging for a lot of people who don't feel that, right? And it's normal to not feel that for a while. And I think a lot of times trying to keep up with like expectations of what you may have thought you were going to be like as a parent, or what your child was going to be like. So there's a lot. It's very complex, and each individual situation is so different. um yeah, but it's a really beautiful time to support people and see them flourish.
And having that knowledge, like that support exists. Wow. um I think that as much as I can push that out to people, I will, because personally, I have 3 kids, and after our third kid, um I just wasn't really happy or sad or anything like that, and was finding myself just kind of going through the motions, wondering why I wasn't more excited about things. And I openly talk about this to anybody that would like to, but like, I self-diagnosed myself as being depressed. I talked to a therapist and kind of got back on track, but it took like the something's not in line, and I really have to get a handle on this. Um, and then putting myself out there and talking to somebody was probably the hardest part of all of it. Once I had
Absolutely.
somebody to talk to, it's remarkable. Like, they talk to people that are going through something similar like that all the time. And
Mhm.
I just didn't know what was out there to tap into. Um, had I known that, I probably would have addressed things much sooner, or had some more awareness that there was something to address.
Yeah.
So I'm in full support of people being more open with each other and leaning on each other for help. And I'm so happy to hear that you're out there doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think it's so important to share our stories also with others, because it really does sort of open people's minds and eyes to seeing that it's actually more prevalent, and that when you are having that feeling of like something feels off, right? I'm not as excited, or something just doesn't feel right in me, to trust that intuition and trust that kind of gut response, and it's okay to seek support, and like you said, a lot of times it's kind of like, well, why didn't I do this sooner? And it is, when somebody's feeling depressed or anxious, it is hard to ask for help, and it is hard to kind of get there and go to that place.
Mhm.
But it's so important, the relationship that you develop with your therapist or potential therapist is really valuable, and that's really where the true kind of healing takes place, is in that comfort and alliance that you build with that person. And I will say, I myself also, with my first daughter, I definitely experienced postpartum depression, and it was very challenging and hard to understand, like, well, why am I not feeling this excitement that I thought I would feel? When I thought I always wanted this. Like, this is something I wanted my whole life. And then here I am, and I didn't feel that connection. I didn't feel that immediate, like, oh, I'm so excited. All I knew I wanted to do was just like sleep for days. So I think just knowing that there are other people who feel the same way, but also knowing that there's support, and being able to reach out for that. And I do think sometimes there is sort of a disservice to parents, because they're not informed of the resources that there is available in the community. Yeah, it's something that I think comes up a lot, where, a mom might be, crying with like a lactation consultant, or, might be at her OB just mentioning some, like, a feeling or something that's going on, and it may not be addressed in that moment. And I think it's really important to just get the word out there, so that, clients can also advocate for themselves to get the support they need.
Yeah, I think that people just don't know how to ask for help or where to ask for it.
Right.
I didn't really realize that what I was experiencing was depression, because I'd always associated depression with feeling sad and down and, in the doldrums. I was just not feeling much of anything. It was like kind of going through the motions of my day to day, not really excited about too much, not really down about too much, but it was like that was just weird. Like, I should have been happier about this happening or more upset about this happening. And I think that, I certainly had a misconception of what depression is and looks like.
Right.
And I don't think that's uncommon.
Right. Right. I think, when it comes to people's minds, they think of someone who, can't get out of bed, maybe doesn't want to shower, but really depression looks different for everybody. And it could really be that sort of sensation of just sort of neutrality, right? Just not really feeling super excited or sad, or just sort of, and people have described it almost as like feeling numb.
Hmm.
And even with, anxiety, it might present in really just ways that you're not thinking. It might be just kind of thinking scary thoughts about, like, what's going to happen to your kids, or what could happen to you potentially. There's so many different ways that it shows up in different people. And honestly, if somebody's even wondering, like, am I experiencing this right now? Definitely reach out. And it's something that, I offer everybody a 15-minute consultation, so we can kind of talk about what's going on and see if I would be a right fit for them, or also help them refer to somebody else if they need other kind of support.
Right, because you're tapped into all the resources that one could need based on that 15-minute consultation, right? Like, you kind of, you take information and kind of direct them appropriately.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if somebody's coming, for example, if it's something that's outside of my area of expertise, then I would refer them to another therapist that specializes in whatever concern they have.
So I imagine that's something that drives you and motivates you to do what you do.
Absolutely. I feel like I was definitely placed on the planet to always help people and work with people. That's been kind of just a part of my lineage, and also just who I am and who I've always been, even since I was a young child. And I love it. I really do love seeing a client come in and just, they're coming at one of their hardest times of life, maybe something that's been the biggest struggle that they've ever dealt with ever in their life, and to see them improve over time and just flourish and really come into a place of like self-acceptance and self-love. It's really a beautiful thing to just be a part of, and to walk along other people with.
That's incredible. So, if you've always been that way, is that kind of how you sought out your profession? Like, you kind of loved to help people. How do I make this a job? I bet that's more or less how you got into social work.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so where did you go to school? Where did you get your degree, and how long did you go to school? Because I know there's a lot of schoolwork that goes into what you do.
Yeah, so I went to undergraduate at UC Santa Cruz, and then I went to graduate school at San Francisco State University and got a master's degree in social work. And then in order to become a licensed therapist, what you have to do is, you do clinical hours, a lot of clinical supervision and training, and then you take a licensing exam here in California. And so we're governed by the Board of Behavioral Sciences, which just makes sure that we're working within our scope of practice, and that we're keeping up with all of the laws. And we're always required to do continuing education, which, while it's a requirement, it's actually a piece that I love, because I think, the more I learn and kind of the more I'm always growing as a therapist myself, the more I can better support the clients that I work with. So it's wonderful.
It sounds like that is how you got to where you're at,
Definitely.
because that's a niche that is just totally underserved, and by and large, like, I don't know, you can speak to this, but I didn't even know it existed until I saw that you were starting this, and I was like, whoa, I've got to put this out there to as many people as possible.
Yeah, definitely. There are some providers in the area, but there's different people who specialize in different things, which is kind of the beauty of the work. And when someone's seeking a therapist, they can find somebody who's the best match for them, depending on what's going on for them. And that's what's so wonderful, because also therapists are really connected. We also love supporting each other and making sure that people get to the right place that they need in order to improve their situation. So.
I had a similar experience. It wasn't, the first person I talked to wasn't the person that I talked to the most.
Right.
They, tapped into their network and what my particular needs were, and it was a perfect match. So
Right.
that's a neat thing that you guys do. It's just, it takes people to just raise their hand and talk to people about whatever they've got going on. I imagine that's probably one of the biggest challenges that you have, right? Helping people that are that come to you, that's one thing, but there's a lot of people that need help and they just don't know that they need help or where they can find it. So what would you say to them?
I a lot of it, I think, is around fear and stigma. I think mental health is not something that we still talk about as just openly as we do, visiting a medical doctor for preventative, appointments. Our minds are very complex, and our lives are very complex. So I would definitely recommend just kind of letting go of that fear and just see what happens on the other side. I know it's so much easier said than done, but finding the right person to work with can help support you in walking through that fear. So if there's something you're afraid of, by seeking therapy or saying, you know what, I think I need help, tell that person that. That's something that I definitely will talk to people about and walk them through and kind of uncover what is that fear really about. So I would just say, trying to really just come into a place of letting go of that, and being okay with seeing it as more of this is a whole body thing, right? Taking care of my mind is also like if I would take care of my heart or any other part of my body.
For sure. So how would somebody find you? Like if they were, I need to talk to somebody, and they couldn't pinpoint it, but it was in line with what the services that you provide, or the network that you can provide if it wasn't a match. Like, how does somebody find you to get that initial 15-minute consult?
So people can search on Psychology Today. So that's a platform where you can basically search any kind of therapist or specialization on that website, but also with Postpartum Support International, I'm also listed on that website, which is a wonderful organization that provides support to just basically anybody in the perinatal period, all parents. and also just by going to my website or calling me.
Cool. So what are your goals over the next year, like for your business and for because this is pretty new. Like how long have you been? I mean, I know you've been in the field for a long time, but where this is a focal point of what you do, how long has that been?
That since I started.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's only been a couple of weeks since I launched my business. And so I'm looking to, build my business, just bring on more clients. I'm open to taking clients right now, but just sort of long-term goals, I would really like to develop some motherhood circles, so some groups, because I do feel like that was something that I found as a mother myself was kind of lacking in the community. And I really wanted to be able to not only connect with mothers, but connect with mothers on kind of a deeper level of, the transition to motherhood and what is happening during that time emotionally, physically, and mentally. So that's kind of my longer term goals, is to be able to develop some groups as well.
I imagine there would be a lot of people that sign up for it if they knew it existed.
I would hope so. Yeah, I think it's such a beautiful thing to kind of experience healing with others at the same time.
Yeah, and this is a community that I think would totally support that. That's one of the really great things about where we live. If you're able to tap into it, it's there. It's just a matter of people finding that support group for that particular stage of things.
Right.
What would you say is something that people don't know about you? Like, what's something like, okay, like we know Karina is a great therapist and she's specializing in the perinatal field right now, but who is she as the person? Like tell us a little bit about yourself.
So the number one thing that people don't realize about me is that Spanish was my first language. So my mom is from Nicaragua. I'm Latina, and I grew up speaking Spanish, and I still speak Spanish, and it's something that definitely is a big part of who I am, just culturally, and with everything, just the food that I eat, the music that I like, the music I like to dance to, really big part of who I am. But a lot of times, just kind of based on how I look, a lot of people don't know that about me. And when they hear me speak Spanish, a lot of times people are like, "Oh my goodness, I cannot believe that she speaks Spanish so well." And
When they really
it's a blessing.
I can't believe she speaks English so well.
I know, exactly. But it's truly a blessing, because I have been able to serve a lot of the the immigration population, people who have recently immigrated, and have worked really closely with that population, and I have absolutely loved that work. And so I've been able to really use my skills to serve so many different people and people in different walks of life. So it's been a blessing.
So you see that, everybody? Karina is fluent in Spanish.
Oh, you want me to say that?
Yeah, you can say
Okay. Sí, hola, yo hablo español y lo hablo muy bien.
that. Muy bien. Let's see. Is there anything else that we have to cover? Let's talk about, so you have a couple kids, right? And you have a dog.
I do.
Doodle.
I do, yeah.
It's one of the cutest dogs I've ever seen.
I know, he's so sweet. So I do. I have two daughters. I have an 8.5-year-old and a 4-year-old. And it has moments where things are really wonderful, and then we also have moments that are really challenging. And it's something that, when I think about my work, I really bring in also just, my own experience and empathy towards just parenting and being a mother, and being a modern day mother, really, because when we're looking at like parenthood today, it entails so much with regards to work. And now we have another added layer of dealing with COVID and what that may have brought up for a lot of people, whether it be different losses or job loss or other grief that they might be experiencing. So, and we also have a dog. and his name is Bo, and he's a tiny little guy. He's a toy poodle. And he's kind of the light of our family and really brings a lot of joy to us during, especially now.
Yeah, your dog is ridiculously cute. And so are your girls, and you
Thank
have a
you.
beautiful family. And
Thank you.
what a it's such a neat perspective that you bring from your personal life to work, because it makes things a lot more relatable to people, to talk to somebody that's gone through or is going through what the people they're talking to has or is going through. I don't know if I said that clearly, but
No, absolutely. I've had people even ask me, will I get better? And that's something that, it really just like when I hear that, I'm like, absolutely, you will. And I think, when you're in it, it doesn't feel that way. And really, I mean, I'm there to kind of provide that sort of encouragement that yes, you will, and it may take time, but you will get better. And just feeling that way and knowing that if you're feeling that way, it's okay to reach out and get some help.
totally. And I feel like, if there's a way this could become, because you did say there is a stigma. I feel like if there was like open dialogue about this on a more mainstream basis, there's a lot of people that have no idea that they're in it to begin with. Like I didn't,
Yeah.
and until I had something to compare it to after kind of figuring things out, like I had no idea how bad things were compared to what they are now. Like I just had no clue. I was just functioning and going through my day to day. And I imagine that that's really common, more
Absolutely.
common than people know. Like they don't even know they need to talk to people.
Right, right. And absolutely. And and then it ends up impacting a lot of other relationships in our lives, right? Whether you're in a partnership or if you're a single parent, and friendships, there's just so many things that get impacted when we're having that experience. And so, yeah, it's definitely something that isn't talked about enough. And I love that you shared your story, because I hope that this also allows other dads to also, kind of see that it is common, and it's not something that is just for mothers. It's not just mothers that have this experience when they have children.
Totally. And yeah, I mean, if you don't want to talk to a psychologist, but you want to talk to somebody, if you're a dad out there watching this, I'm always available for that, because it's really important that we take care of ourselves, because once we're able to kind of square ourselves away, we can take care of a lot more than just ourselves. Because there's a lot that you're right, like that whole shift from pre-kid to post-kid, everything's different. Not
Hmm.
one thing
Hmm.
looks the same, and there's a completely there is an entire identity change. That's interesting that you've drilled down and kind of psychoanalyzed that and have built a system to support that. What an incredible program.
Yeah, and and about that identity change, it's really one of the benefits of also just going to therapy to talk about that is like, well, who am I now as this person, right? As a mother and as Karina or as Michael, who am I now and how am I showing up for myself and for my children and my partner? And just really looking at that and where you want to be,
Hmm.
um, and getting to those goals. So I think it's really important to be able to have that help with somebody else.
Totally, it's extremely important, and what an awesome thing to provide the community. I can't wait to get as many people in the know of what you're doing and what you provide, because it's very needed. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for doing what you do. I mean, it's just, I'm excited to put this out to as many people as I possibly can.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I love being here with you.
Yeah. So how do people get in touch with you?
So you can check out my website at www.karinaakoukalcsw.com, or you can call me at 415-761-1197.
Awesome. And you have an Instagram page, right?
I do. Yeah. I have an Instagram page. It's at Soul Guidance Therapy.
At Soul Guidance Therapy, no spaces or
No
underscore.
spaces, no underscores, just one word.
Word.
Yeah.
Right on. So check that out and tap into Karina. Karina is, as you can see, real easy to talk to, a pleasure to talk to, and has a lot to offer people that are having some type of, adversity in their lives, especially around having kids, and especially in a pandemic. Man, I bet you've been so busy with all kinds of people reaching out and needing somebody to talk to and kind of help them make sense of what's what right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And Karina is somebody y'all should meet. And I'm so excited that you guys now have an introduction to her and what she does. So thanks so much for joining us, Michael Milano, Karina Akouka. Thanks, Karina. Appreciate it.
Thank you.